Hello and welcome to our show. Could you please welcome our special guest?
Hello, I'm Christine Hayford. I am a 70-year-old retired worker, and this is my story. For several years, I was one of the many women working in a big ammunition factory located in Salisbury, South Australia. I was a wife to one of the Australian soldiers, and between us we have 3 lovely children. Unfortunately, my husband couldn't make it through the war as he got shot on the Kokoda track located in Papua New Guinea. I'm sure someone came out behind him and shot him after hiding in the bushes. This was a very difficult situation for me to go through, and trying to explain to my children what had happened was even harder. I think during this time I didn't show up to work for about 2-3 days. I was just not in the right state of mind to be there working. During the World War, we had a dodgy little house to live in while my husband and I were working. The time from when my husband got shot was very difficult. I basically had to manage everything on my own. In World War II, I worked in an ammunition factory. This was a terrible job. I didn't have any trouble in finding this job, but it was nothing exciting. The danger of this job was totally out of this world. On average, every 2-3 days a terrible injury was affecting one of the workers. One day I heard a scream and look up to see a lady with her hair stuck in the drill and the hair was getting torn out of her head. These situations were very confronting. My job was to fill the explosives into the crates ready to be taken out into the storage room. What a terrible job, standing in the same spot working horrific hours and having my life on the edge. I particularly hated my job, mainly because the conditions in the factory were terrible and standing in the same spot doing repetitive work I was not so fond of. The conditions were terrible watching these confronting things happen. Also, no one was there to stop or help these people when they get injured or badly hurt.
Wow, that seems terrible, Christine. I would have hated to experience this terrible situation.
Every day I worked, I had to wear specific clothing. If I wasn't wearing this uniform, I was not allowed to enter the area around the factory. Other jobs that people had to do were fill landlines with explosives, and also filling shell cases with powder. The danger of some of these jobs, for example, handling ammo, was as dangerous as experiencing an earthquake. Some of the machines were very noisy, so I constantly kept getting headaches. With my role, I felt that it was good that I was helping other people and my team throughout the war. I was also very lucky that I was only in a factory and not having my life on the line when being a soldier. I also felt tired, stressed and upset. Tired because of the long boring work, stressed and upset due myself lacking time to spend with my family, also having my husband with his life at risk. When I had to work in the factory, I really had no choice to stay home and care for my young children. I had to work the whole day and leave my children home. When I worked, there were no facilities at the factory to care, leave or supervise my children.
Wow, Christine. You and your husband are just wonderful and both showed great levels of bravery.
The war really affected my family. Due to myself not being able to look after my children and our house, some days I just didn't even go to work. Days I didn't go to work because of fatigue or terrible health caused by the terrible working conditions, and sometimes because of the certain work hours weren't convenient to me. My employer really didn't care about making me work long hours considering life with my children. To be honest, they didn't care about my entire life out of work. Some days I used to get home from work with a huge headache due to the minerals and powder used in making the explosives. Kind of bad when I didn't turn up to work, because sometimes we used to be a bit under the pump when I missed a day and we had to catch up. I was basically letting my team down, but what choice do I have?
Everyone needs a break at some time, Christine, especially when you have to look after your children on your own and also your house.
While working, throughout my job I had many different emotions and feelings. Some of these were stressed, sad, thankful, worried and tired. Come to me since when working I feel tired, sad, worried and stressed since my husband was risking his life, my poor children were at home and I was sick of the repetitive work which made me tired and bored. I felt thankful having to only make ammunition and not be a frontline soldier. This is because having my husband I was hard enough, let alone myself having my life at risk as well. When working, myself and the other women only received a fraction of what the men got paid. When it came to eating, the factories had good canteens, where the workers produced good food. After food was served, and everyone was finished, some girls came out on the stage area and did a performance.
Thank you so much for your time, Christine, and it was great to hear about your story in World War II.